With last week's episode kicking into high gear in the battle with upper rank 4, and Genya pulling out some extra lives out of his mushroom bag to just keep coming back over and over, showing that he's mastered self-revive, we now slide back into the thick of things with Tanjiro pulling off one of the most OP moves we've seen him do. If you haven't watched the latest episode of Demon Slayer as yet, spoilers ahead. The following episode, titled Bright Red Sword, adapted chapters 110 to 113, which follows the continued attack from upper rank 4 and now upper rank 5 joining in. And oh yeah, the community favorite Genya refusing to die. So let's get into the breakdown and compare it to its manga counterpart to see what has been adapted and what's been decorated like a cute little murderous spot. Chapter 110, titled Rustling the Abandoned Shed, actually began with Tanjiro fighting Yurogi and then reunites with Nezuko only to be blasted into the ground and then knocked out, which was covered in the last episode. But now we get to the final 4 pages out of the 19. We skip on over to check on Muichiro. This scene, up to when he cuts the fish demon, was all an anime exclusive, and even when it caught up, there were some major changes from the manga. For one, in the manga, Muichiro was doing some acrobatics as he slashed the fish, while in the anime, his feet never left the ground. I'll omit this panel of us seeing him land a hit as the demon was killed, and also when Kanamori said Muichiro slashed the demon faster than a blink of an eye. In the anime, he was still up in the tree, while in the manga, he was already on the ground. This was all under the premise that he was in the tree in the manga, by the way, because it didn't state, as we don't see him in a tree at any point. Now, I'm not sure why the anime did this, but for some reason Kotetsu introduced Muichiro to Kanamori when he clearly knew who he was based on Kotetsu's earlier outburst. In the manga though, he came to that conclusion. Muichiro's blade was damaged. This is where Kanamori tells him that Tanjiro already asked him to fix his blade for him, so they need to get over to the shed where Hadaneska is held up, and I'll count this panel as missing. But this is where the episode would start and we would get the title. This little bit of Kanamori talking right before they came to the shed was all an anime exclusive dialogue. He tells Muichiro that the blade should be inside and that he should take it and head to the village. But wouldn't you know it, this is where they would come across the upper rank 5 demon Gyoko face to face, and that's where the chapter would end. Normally, we would be heading towards the next chapter, which is chapter 111, but just like before, we skip an entire chapter and head to 112, titled Transitions, which starts out with a swordsmith sounding the bell to alert the others that the village is being flooded with demon fish. And if you thought water was involved, you're dead wrong. They have creepy little hands and feet, but even worse than that, they're CGI. I was questioning earlier why the initial fish was a different color than these, but when I was looking at the color panels, I realized Koyuharu had specified the art. This is where Mitsuri would have entered, slashing the demon fish who were attacking some villagers. She cleaves them with ease. She's so fast and accurate that she slashes multiple fish like it was sweet butter. Now, I did notice that right here she slashes vertically, while in the anime she does it horizontally. The final dialogue of the swordsmith was also an anime exclusive. When we enter the next scene, we see a swordsmith with a spear trying to ward off this demon. In the manga, when we got to this scene, the swordsmith was already on the ground injured. We also skipped this panel, but something more pressing is happening. Techin, the village chief, is about to be devoured by this monstrosity, but this one seems different somehow, doesn't it? It's already killed his demon slayer guard and some of the swordsmiths. We also see blood spitting from his masks. Normally I would question this, but I'll just move right along. But Mitsuri won't have it. She arrives just in time to protect everyone. The demon then attacks, and now she shows off her flexibility skills by slashing the demon so fast it couldn't react. I'll count this panel as missing as well. It lets go of the village chief where Mitsuri catches him and shouts for him to wake up, but the little pervert is still alive, fortunately. He isn't alone. Some of the other swordsmiths are alive, so Mitsuri gets to work in saving them. But I mean, who can blame them? If a busty goddess tried to save me too, I definitely wouldn't resist. Got milk? We now skip over to Tanjiro and Nezuko, where they were doing exactly that, skipping and dancing, trying to dodge Sekiru's attacks, but they get hit by lightning. And I'm really glad the anime covered this shot, as in the manga it showed Tanjiro upside down for no reason. Yurogi then swoops in to take an attack, but he misses. I'll skip these 2 panels. Tanjiro then takes the opportunity to piece the fuck out. Sekiru is pissed off as usual, and he tells Karaku to just blow away the entire building. In the anime, Sekiru directed his slow combat comment at Tanjiro. Also, when Karaku blew the building away, we saw this in the very next panel. However, the anime gave us a nice chase scene, which of course is an anime exclusive. Tanjiro's dialogue of him trying to find a way to kill the demons was also incorporated within this chase scene. While in the manga, it was when the building blew up and Tanjiro was falling that we get this particular speech. This would also be the midpoint of the episode. In the middle of the wreckage, Tanjiro asks Nezuko to stop holding his sword as he won't leave her alone and she might cut her fingers off. The anime gives us a shot of the demons searching for them, and then Tanjiro looks down only to see Nezuko still holding on to his blade. This is where the scene would end, but in the manga there would still be a few pages. But now we skip over to Muichiro and chapter 111. Chapter 111, titled Pretentious Artist, begins where we left off in the previous chapter, with Gyoko now introducing himself to the Mist Hashira and the Swordsmiths. We get a nice anime exclusive banter between them, but Gyoko is a little bit of a talkative one, so we might be here for a while. He politely asks them for a moment of their time, you know, to get to know them and talk a little before trying to brutally murder them. He wants to share his vision of, and I'm saying this in quotations, art, but I also use the word art very loosely. He pulls something out of the pot, and boy oh boy, it's one of the hardest things I've ever seen to describe. It's one of the most grotesque shit I've seen in a long time. He murdered a couple of swordsmiths and bent their bodies around each other, all the while sticking their swords through them. Of course, this is shocking to our team, which Kotetsu immediately starts crying. And my dude, you don't show this to a child. This is definitely PTSD material. We skip the close-up of Kotetsu, and I didn't even notice until the anime did it, but it seems that Gyoko was actually clapping all the time, whereas in the manga, it wasn't really apparent to me. I saw stars, I guess, but we can move on from that. Gyoko is proud of his art. He made sure to keep them alive so that when he twists the swords, they would groan in agony. And he very arrogantly says that he wants to mass produce these kinds of art. Trust me, it's much more horrible in the anime than the manga, until Muichiro just about had enough of his shit, so he leaps in to slash the demon. Only Gyoko is so fast that he reappeared on another pot, dodging the Mist Hashira's moves. Instantly, without hesitation, Muichiro attacks once more, and Gyoko again dodges away. This time, the pot appears out of nowhere. This also pisses off the demons, as his pot were another part of his pride, and how dare you cut them. He pulls out another mini pot out of nowhere, and look, some cute little goldfish. We skip this panel of Muichiro saying, "What the?" But these fish aren't normal as per usual. They're dangerous as all heck. They start spitting up hundreds of needles and they are lightning quick. Muichiro dodges, but then it sets its sights on the swordsmiths. This is where Muichiro is forced to leap in front of them and try to block the attack. We also skip this panel showing Muichiro made it in time. The attack, for the most part, fails, but sticks dozens of needles into his body, and even in his ears and face. Thank God he protected his eyes though. These guys need to get the hell out of the way, and Muichiro shares my same sentiment. He lets them know to get out and go hide. Much like Gyutaro, Gyoko's attacks are laced with poison. He laughs at the Hashira for trying to protect the swordsmiths, and now his body is filled with needles. A few more words now trigger a memory within Muichiro. It's still a bit hazy, so while the demon is trying to come up with a creative way of trying to turn Muichiro into art, the Mist Hashira attacks once more, which gets him trapped in one of Gyoko's blood demon art. This thing will drown anyone trapped inside, and will constantly change according to the person's body to make it even harder so they can't escape. Even sword thrusts and swings do nothing. We are definitely in danger here. This would have been where we get the few panels of Mitsuri running to the village, but as you know, that was included in the last part of the episode. So this is where the manga chapter would end. Now it's time to skip back to chapter 110 with Nezuko and Tanjiro. Wow, the anime is really playing tic-tac-toe with the manga, isn't it? Anyways, she is still holding on to Tanjiro's blade. And does it seem like it has more blood than before when we left them? This is where she ignites her blood. In the meantime, the demons are now looking for the siblings. Nezuko's blood would change the color of Tanjiro's blade from black to bright red. Is it just me, or does Nezuko know more than Tanjiro? Or is she more battle aware than he is? At any rate, this is where the chapter would end. Chapter 113, titled Bright Red Blade, begins with a flashback, or rather an inherited memory, and we get some facts about the swordsman. His blade changed color to bright red when he fights. He also has the same nitrine blade color as Tanjiro. But now with the power of Nezuko, his sword is fully bright red, which would have been the same as his fight with Rui. The only difference is back then his blade was broken. But now combined with Nezuko's demon burning fire, I'm sure this is a major upgrade. It's to note that the swordsman didn't use it in the same way to get the bright red blade as to how they arrived at the same result. But this bright red blade does prevent demon regeneration, or rather slows it down considerably. Tanjiro with his newfound blade now steps out to the demons. It's time to go hog wild and show these puss who's boss. Just like what happened with Daki, Muzan's cells resonate, showing them the swordsman from the past as well. But when they launch an attack at Tanjiro, we skip this panel of Hirogi heading towards him when we see his scar starts to change again. When Tanjiro swings, this is where we get the animation done in the opening of the season, but with some added detail. He now launches a massive attack that decapitates all 3 demons in a fluid stroke. They didn't even have time to process his movements, and I must say, this gives me flashbacks to Tanjiro versus Daki or Tanjiro versus Rui when he did an amazing move. But damn, a fire dragon? Almost on par with that of Rengoku. I was moved so much by this, even my eyes filled with tears as I cheered from the sidelines. Yes, my brother, go get it. But can we probably change the name to something shorter? I mean, Hinokami Kagura, Sun Halo Dragon, Head Dance is a bit too much. Tanjiro now remembers this sensation from during his last moment fighting Gyutaro, and this will be an important plot point later, so let's remember it. But we can skip this for now. He starts looking for the final demon, which is Aizetsu, who should be with Genya. But wouldn't you know it, Genya has him stabbed with his own spear and takes the demon's head. Incredible work. But wait, something seems wrong. When Genya turns around, he looks just like a demon. And Ufotable went ahead to color the ends of his hair tips yellow, which is a good touch. But the major question we have to answer now is how? This would also explain why he isn't dead. Is he like Nezuko? But that doesn't even make sense. He looked human at first. But anyways, we aren't done yet. The manga still continues with 6 pages, but now the anime has come to an end. And just like before, I won't be revealing those pages until the next episode, which is titled, Are You Going to Become a Hashira? For this episode of Demon Slayer, we had high expectations, and Ufotable delivered as per usual. I looked at the staff list for the episode long before the episode had begun, and it got me hyped. Probably I'll explain that in the community section as to not extend this video any further than it needs to be. I really love this sequence, and I couldn't wish for anything else, especially in such an early stage of this fight. So let's jump into the numbers and see what's been adapted. Demon Slayer, The Swordsmith Village, episode 5, titled Bright Red Sword, covered 4 manga chapters, each chapter having an average of 14 pages, all adding up to 59 pages. Each page having an average of 47 panels, all adding up to 191 panels, with 10 of those panels being unique or not adapted. This means only 181 panels were adapted, meaning out of all 4 chapters, 94.76 were covered. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this episode, and leave me a like on your way out. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It really helps the channel. I've been your host, Kyle. Thanks again for joining. Peace out. Stay safe out there, V Nation.